It's Friday, March 23rd, 2012. You've tuned into the 404 show on CNET TV. I'm Jeff Bacalar.
And I'm Justin Yu. And this is the show where Jeff has 30 problems.
That's right.
That's it. There's nothing that comes after that. Just 30 problems.
But one of them is certainly not our good buddy Russ Frushtick on the program. He's never a problem. He's always a pleasure.
Guys.
Thanks for being here, dude.
My pleasure.
It's been a while because you're like the
while.
big Vox guy now. You have like all these responsibilities and
It's
whatnot.
true. The world is on my shoulders.
Yeah.
You forget about the little people.
I do.
Once you go over to the big man.
I think
You're Jerry.
Wilson.
Wilson.
Nice to
Right,
meet you.
Wilson.
No, I think since you've been a guest on our show, you've gone through what?
This is my
several
third
jobs.
job.
Yeah, it's awesome. I like
Which
how
is
we're
pretty crazy.
seeing your trajectory
So,
here.
be honest. Are we directly responsible for your rise in
yeah,
fame in the video game world? I mean, just giving you the experience of being on camera and talking. I mean, come on.
Are we on camera right now?
Yes,
we are.
You are
Yes, I think both of you are responsible.
directly responsible.
you're
Directly
welcome.
responsible, yes.
Yeah, you are welcome.
I'd be nowhere. I'd be on a street somewhere.
You'd be
But then someone would notice I'm like the homeless guy with the golden voice.
Yeah.
And they'd give me a job.
you'd
So-
be reviewing iPhone
happen no
apps
matter what.
for food.
Yeah.
So tell us what you're doing now.
So I'm at Vox Games.
Yes.
Which is a company.
Which is a company.
From the makers of The Verge comes
Oh.
Vox Games.
Here you are.
There we are.
Which one are you?
Out of that picture, I think I'm probably.
I
Probably
think you're
Woodman.
I think you're Flash Man.
I don't think Woodman's a good idea. Yeah, I'll go with Flashman, sure.
Okay, all right.
Nothing like a good Mega Man villain illusion.
Yeah. But no, we're, making a video game site.
Yeah.
So
So it's pretty cool. I've read a lot of your guys' stuff. It's sort of like a different, I guess a different approach maybe.
a little different. We're,
Yeah.
trying to give people more than just the straight, like, this is what happens in the game. This, you know,
Right.
you shoot this guy. We're trying to get a little more personal, speak to the developers directly about, like, what kind of people they are, which is a little weird, but I think
Okay.
it tries to give a little more color into, like, the games that people like.
Well, it makes sense. You get in the minds of the developer, then maybe the games that they make make a little more sense.
But we're also doing the other stuff, too. We're
Right.
doing we're trying to hit it from all angles.
For sure.
Are you guys doing your own gaming podcast as well?
We, as a
They
matter of
are.
fact, we do have a podcast. It's not the only podcast that we're going to do, but we do have a first one.
Sure.
It's called The Besties.
Yes. I actually listened to it and enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate
that's real talk there.
That's hard for Jeff to say. I can tell.
It's goofy.
Really
It is not serious.
It's not hard for me to say.
Oh.
It's not. What you say? It's goofy.
It's goofy. It's not a serious podcast.
Well, that's not because you're on it.
I add to the goof.
You think you bring the goof to a new level.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Well, when do
I'm
you
like
guys
that Philly fanatic.
when do
That's
you guys
basically
air the show then? If you want to check. it out?
We air every Friday.
Okay.
So there will be a new one today.
So you record today,
No, we recorded yesterday.
and it went well.
You just have to extrapolate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was dynamite.
It was dynamite.
Yeah.
You guys go long too, huh?
We do about 30 or 40 minutes.
Oh, so just like us. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So you really are competition now.
Yeah, direct
This
competition.
is just.
As a matter of fact, I'm here to crush you guys.
Yes, please leave.
on the way out, he's just gonna
Please
pull
don't-
out all the
yeah,
wires.
Don't
and
remove
stuff.
any of the bugs that are hiding in this room now.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
And you brought
Man.
us a cupcake. Thanks,
no,
man.
no.
Oh, that's
see,
not for us. You just
I've-
brought it into the
I
studio.
brought it for the birthday boy.
Oh,
Look at
thanks,
that.
man.
Brought him a cupcake.
And that is where the show title is coming from
So-
today.
right,
Jeff turns 30 years old tomorrow.
No,
Dude, what
No-
was it? Where
dude,
were you
no
when
candle.
JFK
What
was
the,
shot?
what the hell? I'm kidding. What did you say?
No.
Justin just asked me where was I when JFK was shot. I wasn't
What was Christmas
alive.
like in the 30s, man?
well, that's the thing is, so we're saying it's
Oh,
your
this is
what
great, man.
30th birthday?
No, I am. Come on. I am
So
30.
we're saying that
Wait, here's
you
the
know,
receipt.
his second
Take the
30th
receipt.
birthday.
No, dude, this is it's my real 30th birthday. I was born in 1982.
Right.
Okay, I'm glad you have that memorized.
Disgusting.
I'm an Aries.
Yeah.
No, but seriously,
Yeah.
this means a lot. Thank you so much.
Sure thing.
Because not everyone does stuff like this.
Treasure it.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate
There's a cookie
that.
in there.
Hell yeah, there is. I got a nice little weekend planned, I think.
Yeah?
I don't know.
What do you got going on?
Stacy, listen to this.
Yeah.
Stacy has something planned,
Uh-oh.
and I don't know what it is.
Aren't you going to the Devils game?
I'm going tonight to the Devils game.
Okay.
So how do you know about that? I told you yesterday.
Yeah.
People are being weird to me. Like I don't know who knows what.
Wait, what does that mean? People are being weird
Like
to you?
they're like, oh, what are you doing for your birthday week? And I'm like, I have no idea. They're like, really? You usually like to be in control of stuff like that. I'm like, I know, it's killing me.
So
So that's
Stacy
not
told you that there was gonna be a
She's
surprise,
like,
but not what
no,
it
no,
is?
not the surprise. Don't say the word surprise. She said,
Okay.
she's like, don't worry, we have plans.
What
And
is-
I'm like, really? What the F does that mean?
And that's funny because we all know how much you despise surprises.
I told her,
That's
I
part
said,
of the fun.
I said, you ever see Horrible Bosses when Kevin Spacey reacts to that surprise party? I will emulate that.
You just
on
freak
I'll
out.
be like, mother effer, God, you know, just say it right
Are
now.
we making Horrible Bosses references? And everyone got it but me?
Oh
Well,
God, yeah.
I don't think that movie's good. I'm just saying
Okay.
there's that one scene that I really
Surprised
laughed
that
at.
people actually saw that movie.
Well, me too. Me
Charlie
too.
Day was
I watched it
funny.
on a plane.
Okay.
All right, let's jump into some of the things for the day. Thank you very much for this again.
Sure.
I really
want you to
appreciate
eat it in 30 seconds.
Well, no, that seems a
it's like
little
the size of an
ridiculous.
apple.
It is among the larger cupcakes I've
Yeah,
seen
it's
in
from
my entire
Crumbs.
life.
Delicious cupcakes from Crumbs.
You know,
That's
this is. I'm
awesome.
gonna taste this little icing right here. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Th- phenomenal.
This is criminal.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, Crumbs cupcakes are great.
they really are.
I got you a present too, but the jitterbug's being activated right now at the Verizon store, so
Oh, yeah,
you won't,
because-
we'll get that
dude,
till this
you're right
weekend.
behind me, man.
I'm 28 years young.
You're just.
And I'm
turned
gonna start
28.
lying about my age next year. So
You can. You look
do a
like you're
Benjamin Button
14
type thing.
anyway.
Yeah.
People, you know, everyone's like, "Oh, you're gonna be 30, right? What's it? What, you know? Do you feel 30? How can anyone feel like an age that they aren't yet?
What?
You know, like people are like, oh, you know, what?
Does it?
I
They're
just
asking,
turned 30.
I understand, but
I
they're
don't
asking
feel
if they,
30.
it feels natural.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel
no,
weird.
That doesn't fly. Do you? I don't feel 30. Of course not, because no one can know what it feels like to be an age they
Can
aren't.
you stay? This is
You're
such-
really having a
Yeah,
meltdown
this
on
is,
air right
this
now.
is pathetic. This is totally pathetic.
I'm just. It's a funny. It's
Good
like,
radio. But
Yeah, it is great.
It's a-
We're just gonna let you go off for a while.
Just saying, like, how can you feel a certain age? You know, you are what
Yeah.
you are.
yeah.
Birthdays are stupid.
What's it like
Numbers
to
are
have more
stupid.
years behind you than you have ahead?
Well, that's the truth, because there's no way I'm making it to 60.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just not happening. No, it's fine. I've done what I've wanted to. I've had a good life.
Yeah, it goes
you know,
downhill.
my bucket list it's a short one now,
Right.
and that's it.
Survive is your next thing
When
on
I
the
look
bucket
back
list.
on my life, I'd like to think that I've accomplished what I've wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
A mediocre show.
Spent 5 years on a mediocre podcast.
I mean, these are the achievements we treasure in life.
Let's just move on before someone
Please.
starts crying.
Someone starts slitting their wrists here. All right. We have Russ on the show. We've been speaking about the Mass Effect controversy all week. BioWare is now sort of almost out of control. I feel like they're having a tough time doing damage control in the way that they're presenting their side of the story. So I want to get Russ's insight on this. Everyone knows that the mass nerds have sort of convened and raised like $75,000 worth of charity.
It's charity, so you know,
Good for them.
Fine-
That's fine.
fine for that.
We were saying
even though it's a little maniac, but
it is a little maniacal.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on the whole thing? Do you think it makes gamers seem spoiled? Do you think BioWare is doing the right thing in entertaining / flirting with the idea of changing the ending? What exactly is happening?
I'm also really curious before you answer, like, is the ending really that bad? You
Well-
know, as someone who doesn't play video games myself, I could imagine if it was horrible, I'd be frustrated that I,
I have
spent
a
that
great
much time.
okay, and to that point,
we
I
should mention that I have no interest. We're not going to spoil
we're not,
the
of
ending.
course
Yeah,
not.
right.
But what we can do is maybe
Should we just replace the names of characters
no,
with other?
no. I was that would
Then
just give it
Steve.
Let's compare it to another disappointing ending in film or games.
Okay.
Like think
Okay.
of
Good way to
another
go.
ending that was equally as. I think it's. Would you compare it to like Sopranos?
I actually think the ending of Sopranos is good. but
I
that's just me.
agree with you. I enjoyed the
Yeah.
ending to Sopranos.
Yeah.
Is it like a Dallas type thing?
Who knows how Dallas ended?
Yeah.
Well, this guy would. Grandpa over here.
First of all, I was only 15 when Dallas ended. No. I'm trying to think of something that we can all relate to.
Worst
The
movie
thing that
ever.
I've been using over and over again, I don't think it does it justice because I don't think they're on the same level, is the ending to Back to the Future 3. We're sort of just like, really?
No,
But it's
I don't
not.
think there's an analog
Right.
necessarily. Basically, without spoiling anything,
Okay.
the complaint that everyone has with the ending, which I completely agree with,
Mhm.
is that the whole series is about making decisions. Like
Right.
You're making the decisions that that are supposed to impact something in the long run.
Sure.
And what ends up happening is that throughout Mass Effect 3, these decisions do come up, and they do sort of affect like who you're meeting and who you're working with.
Right.
But at the very end, probably the last 3 hours of the game, is almost 100% static,
Right.
ignoring any decision that you
It
made
all
before that.
sort of comes to a head. It all like funnels in
Right.
to this bottlenecked story,
Right.
which I'm okay with that though. Like
Okay. That's involved.
it bothers me that, like you said, the entire trilogy focuses so much on the concept of choice making and giving you empowering the player. But at the same time, I think these sort of, epic stories, as varied as they can be in your experience, I think there is something to be said for the fact that it should have a finite conclusion that everyone sort of experiences at the same time. Maybe the path to which you get there is different, but I do think it's okay that there's one ending that everyone sort of sees.
So I'll give you an example of a situation of a game where there's lots of player choice, and there is sort of a finite ending, but you also see the impact of your player choice in the ending.
Okay.
And let me specify that I don't think that, like, I'm not saying, like, damn you, BioWare, for not doing this, but this is an example of what they could have done.
Okay.
Is the Fallout 3, any of the Fallout games, really.
Right.
So all those games have, like, this main overarching story, and then there's side missions and, like, optional stuff, and you can befriend people. And at the very end of the game, there's Ron Perlman actually comes on and does this little voiceover thing and explains to you basically what happened because you did this thing.
Right.
Or because you did that.
Right. So it's like the best of both worlds.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not in a position to say this is what BioWare should have done. It is 100% their decision as to how they should end the game. Personally, I would have found that a little more rewarding.
Of course.
But
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
I don't think it's fair to almost harass them to the point where they just seem like they need to keep the gang happy. They need to keep that sort of like horde of angry gamers happy by giving in to their demands. I don't think that's cool.
I was very surprised.
Very surprised.
Because they released something before that. Casey Hudson, who's like the series manager, released a statement before that saying like, well, Mass Effect 3, the entire game is meant to be the conclusion.
Sure.
And then like 3 days later, the one of the two studio
co-founders
of BioWare came out with a statement saying, yeah, we're taking all the feedback and we're potentially gonna look at how to flesh out whatever.
So it's amazing they folded in 72 hours.
Here's the thing, and I think what's not totally been said is that I think this might be a bit of a marketing twist, because we all know 100% they were planning on doing DLC.
Of course.
That was definitely coming.
Of course.
So for all we know, their DLC plan remains 100% the same.
Yeah.
And it obviously would flesh out the story somewhat because it was going to do that anyway. So now all they're doing is framing it in a way that's like, oh, and we're trying to help out the fans that weren't happy. So it's just a reframing of what they're going to do anyway.
So you're proposing that...
I'm not saying that's true, but
but you're proposing that the DLC that was always planned, and any journalist will tell you they've been talking about this forever.
Right.
Everyone knew this was going to happen. You're saying they're just sort of like framing it in a way that, oh, okay, we've heard your cries and we've heard your complaints.
Right.
Maybe we'll pacify you with this DLC that we were always planning this whole time.
Right, exactly.
That sort of thing. All right, I like that. I think it's smart, because that's how you... it's like, how do you keep an idiot busy? That sort of thing. I appreciate that.
But the DLC stuff, is that going to be extra content, or is that going to be an alternate ending? Do you think they're going to...
No, I don't think they'll do an alternate ending.
They can't do that.
It'll be like extra missions.
Yeah,
right.
And maybe providing more insight.
Do you think that will satiate the people that are complaining about the ending?
I think half of them might be okay.
It doesn't matter.
That doesn't have
They're
anything
going to buy it.
It doesn't matter. They're going to buy. That's the thing. That's why you're probably right.
Mm-hmm.
Because who's not going to buy this now? You're not getting a full story unless you buy this and play it. Interesting.
Interestingly enough, Fallout 3 did the same thing.
They did.
Sure. And they actually ended up changing the ending in a way that made you what?
Oh, I was gonna say, what's your stance on that? Because I get really frustrated when people complain about that.
I thought they did it really well.
Yeah, they were able to pull it up. They're a unique exception to the rule. I feel like that Fallout 3 was just as close to perfection as you can really get. I think. I still remains my favorite Fallout game. This New Vegas stuff, I wasn't a huge fan of. I know you liked it.
I liked it.
Yeah. Mark Lasea, die-hard New Vegas guy.
I love 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's been too long.
Yeah.
All right, I want to move on in the game world, talking with you. Here's sort of an interesting topic that you and I are exposed to on a seemingly weekly basis in terms of the way game reviewers are treated by PR companies and by developers and whatnot. Kotaku, and this is we actually heard about this, and then our buddy Marlon from Trinidad sent this in and said, "Hey, when Russ is on the show, make sure you talk about this with him because
I'm
it's
a big hit in Trinidad, by the way.
You're huge. You're on their money." From Kotaku, and this goes back to March 13th. It says maybe video game reviewers are con men. Maybe. Well, basically what it is, it's sort of like a whistleblower who goes by the name on YouTube Investigative Journalism. And it sort of provides some insight to the whole debacle and maybe, controversy of whether or not video game reviewers are, in fact, treated in a way that they are persuaded, quote-unquote, bought for their good reviews. Obviously, this week with CBS Interactive acquiring Giant Bomb, that came right into the forefront because of the whole Jeff Gerstmann incident with what happened at GameStop Spot a couple years ago. That was a big deal when it went down. I mean, it's a really delicate situation, but we don't shy away from stuff like that. We want to talk about it. We want to throw it out in the open. What are your thoughts on this? The movie that plays, and it's long. It's like 11 minutes, and we encourage everyone to watch it.
Yeah, I haven't watched it. Sorry.
It's an interesting sort of situation. It calls out things. Remember, after Duke Nukem got the bad reviews, their PR people came out and were like, "Oh, we're going to reevaluate how we distribute content."
That was
to
one
people.
guy, but yeah,
it was one guy, but it's it's a bigger picture sort of thing like that. What are your thoughts on this? The piece brings up interesting things, like we are essentially wined and dined a little bit. When review packets come along and a game review comes out, there's a very strict code of conduct, how you should cover a game, what chapters should not be revealed, what spoilers you can't talk about. What's your thoughts on this?
So we'll take a few things. First of all, so obviously we go to like preview events to check out games. Jeff and I were at one yesterday. There's going to be, there'll be like snacks and like drinks if you want it. So there's that. I mean, that's sort of a PR standard thing for everywhere
for sure.
you go.
And I want to reiterate, and especially if PR people are listening, I know some of our friends in the industry do listen.
Yeah.
We're cool with that.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sway a journalist either way.
That happens on the editorial side of CNET for
but
hardware
across
too.
the
That's
board.
he's right. It's a PR.
It's worth noting that
Across
some
the
people
board.
are like very, very strict with themselves about that, where they won't even take water.
Yeah.
I think it's a little.
No,
no one's changing a review over a Diet Coke.
Exactly. And not only that, to me,
about.
you should be doing that. You should be providing stuff like that. People are taking time out of their schedule to come to you. It's sort of like just a gesture, a nice gesture.
Okay.
So that's that. What were we talking about? What was the second one that you brought up?
Well, it's just I guess that's the whining and dining sort of aspect. Talking about guidelines for reviews.
Oh yeah. Okay. So whenever there's guidelines for reviews, for example, what you were talking about, where you can't talk about level 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
This is always a situation where these reviews, the embargoes lifts before the game comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And from a publication standpoint, we have a decision to make. We can either take the early copy that they send and run the review whenever the embargo lifts, like a week before the game comes out, and stick to their guidelines, because the reason we have to stick to their guidelines is because they sent it to us early.
Right.
Or we can make a decision like we don't want to limit ourselves for what we're covering and hold the review until the game comes out the day of launch.
Right.
And we can say whatever we want.
Right.
Is the reason why they restrict you from reviewing those certain levels because it's a pre-release game and it's not going to be the same one the customers will get?
No.
I think it's a spoiler.
It's a spoiler.
Oh, okay.
Which
But
makes
you wouldn't want to
sense.
spoil that in the review
which
anyway.
makes sense. You wouldn't want to do that.
Right.
I'm finding a lot of embargoes are lifting day of now anyway.
That's true.
Have you been noticing that?
Yeah, that's been happening more.
Yeah.
I've never been in a situation where it's like, we don't want you to, well, sorry, that's not totally true. There have been situations where they'll be when they send a review copy, they'll be like, okay, so this thing is not working great, but we've got a day one patch coming, so we don't want you to focus on that in the review. And that's when the alarm bells start going off.
That's when
and
red flags raise.
It's almost always like a problem that never gets fixed. And so when it comes to a spoiler thing, I personally agree. I don't think the spoilers should be in reviews.
Of course.
But
unless you're telling me about The Giver.
Right, but but if there are gameplay elements that are broken or a major problem, they need to be in there. And if that means, the only way they can be in there is holding the review, I think we owe it to the readers to hold the review until launch day.
Okay.
Do you think there's a certain? Well, I know there is, and I know you'll agree with me. but let's talk about the almost psychology of it all, the way that certain things maybe are presented, that sort of maybe steer you in a direction that a PR person is sort of, or like the mass behind the people who represent the game are sort of leading you towards. Maybe
What do you mean?
saying like, like you said, don't play Chapter 4, but because Chapter 4 is kind of broken, stuff like that, without actually coming out and saying stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Is there
In
like
reviews,
sort of
that doesn't really come up.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're playing through the entire game.
Sure.
It's not like a lot of that stuff is marketing, where they like say like this is the best multiplayer experience ever.
Mhm.
So they're sort of saying ignore the single player is not so good.
Right.
Sometimes, you know,
Right.
that might be the case. So
Do you get the impression, and I do, I
Mhm.
want to know if you do as well, do you ever get the impression that the games that the PR people know are bad, do you ever get the impression that they sort of handle those games differently?
yeah, well, a lot of publishers won't spend or tell their PR people to spend as much time focusing on those.
Right,
games.
right.
So they're handled differently.
For
But
sure.
sometimes there are terrible games that
Get-
PR people will go nuts over,
For sure.
because that's, again, it's what their bosses are telling them to do.
All right, I don't want to spend too much time on this. It's very insidery, but I feel like it provides insight that a lot of people don't really know much about. Are you happy with the current state of like the PR journalist relationship? Do you think something needs to change? Do you see any trends happening that are like, okay, you know what? I could go without having this happen again.
So I don't want to make any broad statements, because the PR journalist relationship is very singular to the person that you're dealing with.
Agreed.
And especially for publication to publication.
And the vast majority of them are great people.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's
but I
say that
want,
too.
but I want to say I do think there is an element at which, when you get to the smaller sites,
Mhm.
are much more prone to influence by PR, because they, like, a lot of the reason they're making these sites, they're not making any money off of it, but they want the games.
Mhm.
So when you hear stories about the Duke Nukem thing, that's sort of pushing those sites into a situation where it's like, okay, well, you're not going to get games anymore, and that's like death to them.
Mhm.
So, that stuff's unfortunate. I wish that wouldn't happen, but for the bigger sites,
It's a casualty of the industry, I think. It's just the
Yeah.
way it works.
I mean, that's PR forever.
There are
everywhere.
there's 10,000 video game review sites.
Yeah.
All clamoring for the same thing.
That's something that this article talks about as well, as publishers threatening to pull advertising dollars from smaller websites, or not giving pre-release copies to those smaller sites.
Sure,
that could
and
shut down.
and if you're a smaller site, that could mean like you have to shut down.
And
You
we
can
face that
get-
stuff on the hardware side with
We
Apple
do,
too.
sure.
Apple
are you
threatening
kidding?
not to send us.
CNET did not get an iPad early.
Right.
Now everyone
CNET did
knows
not
that.
get an iPad early,
CNET did not get an iPad
or
early.
sometimes they won't send an invite to a keynote event.
Right.
That's going to.
Or they'll send one instead of 7.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff. We
There's
could all write a
Always
book.
drama, yeah.
All right, cool. This is very insightful. I appreciate you opening up to us like that.
Sure thing.
It's a little therapeutic, maybe.
was
perhaps.
cathartic.
Let's take a break. When we come back, much more with Russ Frushtick on the 404, and we'll try and get to some calls. We'll have a lot more fun with our good buddy, Russ Frushtick. Stick around. More after this.
This is the 404 MRFers, the show where we all sing songs.
Welcome back to the 404.
Uh,
Had an interesting talk during the break. It blows my mind, that Draw Something story.
It's pretty remarkable.
wait, which Draw Something?
Draw Something.
Well, yeah, I
uh,
know. I
the
know what Draw
iOS
Something
game.
is.
So you're familiar with the game?
Yeah, I have the game. I play it. What's the story behind it?
Really?
though?
You're playing games now? Look at you.
Yeah, I know. Weird, right?
Crazy.
Well, and this all leads to
Thickness.
another conversation,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
Draw Something, the company that makes Draw Something is OMG Pop,
right.
which
The worst.
I think is the greatest name for a company
Pretty
ever.
great.
I
Great.
mean,
If it was 2002, they'd be
it's
right
like,
on
we
the
asked
cusp.
73 kindergartners what we should name our company.
Right.
And we took the most popular response.
And they were just purchased, right?
And they were just purchased by Zynga, the social mobile gaming giant, for $180 million,
I thought it was 200.
plus $30 million for employee retention.
And they have like 20 employees.
Or like 40, whatever it is.
Ridiculous.
Doesn't matter.
Staggering.
They're all disgustingly rich now.
Yeah.
I don't know how long it took them to develop that game, but it's not it's a well-made Pictionary game.
It's a good game, but,
But-
I feel like it's a one-trick pony, right? I mean,
yeah.
Aren't all
It's
iOS
staggering.
games one-trick ponies?
yeah, and that's part of the problem. Do you think it's? I mean, we were just shocked at the value,
Mm-hmm.
and who decides that value?
Well, it's interesting because the company that made Words with Friends,
Yeah, was Zynga publishing?
Zynga, well, Zynga bought them as well.
Right.
for like $65 million.
Right.
And
that was like the most popular thing on
yeah,
earth.
that was huge.
Draw Something rose to popularity quicker, perhaps.
Well, yeah, it was also, after everyone saw the growth of Words with Friends, suddenly the Draw Something people could like have leverage to ask for more money.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I was shocked at how much it was.
I thought there was a misprint. I thought it was like
Yeah.
$8 million. I was like, oh, that's a nice chunk of change. But no, $180 million?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't get it. I just don't understand like where that value is. And these free games with their ads, like, are they really are they worth?
Well, that game's not free.
Yeah.
No, Draw Something's free.
It's free, but
There's
you
a
can
free version.
You can
Yeah.
purchase the.
Right, but Draw Something's free.
game,
and most of the,
okay.
I would imagine the majority of people have the free version.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Are you
Surprisingly,
sure?
a majority of my friends actually have the paid version
I
because
bought
it
the
gives
paid
you
version.
colors,
Right, but
and that helps your drawing.
Well, maybe when I draw like a peacock, sure, that's something I want to be able to do. But
Yeah.
but I'm curious though. I feel like are the numbers out on how many people get the free one versus the paid one?
I'm not
No.
sure.
I can't
don't
see
know.
that.
They probably
Free
wouldn't
is
give that out.
free.
It's interesting.
Free is free.
I think
mean,
more interesting is the fact that Zynga has a bit of a reputation when it comes to seeing really cool ideas and then maybe just taking them for themselves without asking.
Say it. They've done it
Yeah.
a few times.
Yeah.
Most recently with
Tiny Tower.
Tiny Tower.
So, but interestingly enough, their Tiny Tower game, I think it was called Dream Heights. Last I checked on the App Store, it was like rated like 1 or 2 stars. So people, there was enough bad PR for them that people were actually aware of it.
Right.
But they've done it before where no one even noticed.
Right.
Okay, fill me in here. What is Tiny Tower?
Tiny Tower was is a popular iOS game. It's free. It's like Sim Tower, basically.
Okay.
And this tiny developer out in San Diego made it, and it was a huge success. And Zynga basically changed the graphics of it, but the gameplay is exactly the same.
Okay.
And that legally, that is fine. You're allowed to do that because you can't copyright gameplay mechanics.
Mhm.
But it's shady and not cool. And Zynga's sort of notorious for doing stuff like that.
Right.
They're also notorious for suing other people when other people steal their games.
Which is just like
Which is
the most
sort of ironic.
hypocritic. It really is insane.
Anyway, it's just interesting to see them actually pony up the dough for this company,
Right.
For Draw Something.
Right. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it just shows you how much money they just got sitting around.
It's pretty staggering.
I mean, I know they've had
For
a lot
like
of investors.
a tiny Pictionary game.
Right? It's staggering.
I'm interested to see what they do next, like
But-
where they're going to expand
But
that.
do you think, and this leads into something else that we're talking about on Yahoo Games, written by Chris Morris. Did you read this? Is the video game industry Apple's next victim? I think it's stuff like this that will give the common, Joe and Jane, iPhone user that impression that yes. Because think about it. I mean, I know a blockbuster game, I hate using it as an example, but Modern Warfare 3. That game didn't cost $180 million to make. It probably cost like 60, right, when all was said and done. But it made a hell of a lot more money. But you talk about that, once you're in those hundreds of millions, it's sort of, people don't see anything
So
past
the
it.
article is basically saying that like there won't be console games; it'll just be iOS games.
The article is basically
It's basically saying the same thing we've talked about a million. I
Right,
feel
we've
like
talked
there's
we
so
talk
many
about this.
articles
We
that
do
say
talk about this a lot, but this is a recent story, and it's gotten so much attention.
Yeah.
Just because, and then this whole Draw Something just feeds right into it. But we've never really gotten Russ's take on it. So that's what I want to know. And I know you are a big fan of mobile gaming.
I do like mobile
but
gaming.
you love your console gaming as well.
True.
And by your gamer score, everyone would know that. So what do you think in reality? Now, I know, yes, you cannot talk about mobile gaming or gaming at all without mentioning stuff like iPad and iPhone games.
Right.
But where do you see it in the big picture? Where do you see it when?
It's definitely not going away.
Of course.
And it'll only get bigger.
Do you think the video game industry is Apple's next victim? Do you think Apple is hiding something up their sleeve, or they're just gonna put the Xboxes and the PlayStations out of business?
I wouldn't be surprised if when Apple puts the Apple TV out, it had iOS games like downloadable straight to the Apple
Well,
TV.
that's definitely gonna happen. I think that's
and I also wouldn't be surprised if they sold a controller with it.
to me that's the big thing, and I know.
And if they do,
like,
that's a console. That being said, do I think that there's room for more than Apple in the gaming industry? Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
There's definitely, they can't take it over.
Well, look at what when Xbox and PlayStation, when all those consoles came out in 05 and 06, the whole mentality behind all that was we're taking over your effing living room.
Yep.
And we're becoming the hub of your living room.
Yep.
Right.
Now it's not about that. It's like, oh, I'm on the run. I'm mobile. I'm playing.
Well,
I'm
I think
online.
that's still about like my Xbox is the hub of my like
Sure.
Netflix and whatever I'm doing almost always involves my Xbox. So
Right.
that's still to a certain extent true. But there's this whole other part. But I don't think they're mutually exclusive. Like I think there's always going to be the mobile aspect because you're not in your house all the time.
Of course.
And then you're in your house, and when you're in your house, you don't necessarily want to play mobile games. You want to
Right.
sit on it and see something on the big screen.
That's the point I want to make, and is I think that Apple is catering to a new type of customers, like someone like me that would never play console games, but is still liking to be entertained when he's on the toilet. Like that kind of thing.
A better question is Apple killing portable gaming? Which is,
I
you
think the
know,
answer to that is yes. I don't think there's really any way you can get around with it. I know it's the short answer.
No, but I don't necessarily agree. I mean, this 3DS had a tough time,
It still does have a tough time.
and Vita obviously, is gonna have a tough time.
And the thing is, though, is that the Vita's good.
Yeah, it's a
The
good,
Vita's a
good
great
piece
system.
of hardware.
It's an awesome system. The games on that, some of the games are really impressive.
Yep.
But
But they're also 50 times more expensive than
exactly.
an iPhone game.
And I hate
And the Vita's much bigger.
Exactly. It's a bigger piece of equipment to carry around with you. And I've said this before. Like back in October, I was like, no. I got a little bit of heat for it. I said, no, there's no room for anything other than phone gaming on your phone. I said all the 3DS, the Vita. Vita wasn't even out yet. I was like, go away, get out of here. At the end of the day, I know it's a sort of jumping to conclusions sort of situation, but it's kind of the reality of it all. If I have an iPad, okay, that already takes out everything that I need to carry. What else do I need to carry besides a phone, right? And now I'm going to have a phone, an iPad, and a 3DS that needs to be charged every 4 hours, or a Vita that needs to be charged every 5 hours, or whatever the hell it is. It's just how many bags do I need to carry?
Sure.
And that's, I don't know. It's sad to say because Vita and 3DS games are better than iPad games.
Yep.
And you agree with that?
Not necessarily. Some are and some aren't.
But
I wouldn't say
don't you think there are experiences found on the Vita and the 3DS that the iPad will never be able to touch?
Absolutely, and I think vice versa.
Really?
Yeah.
So explain
Because
the vice versa.
Because I don't think the Vita and the 3DS are designed for short. Like if I'm playing a game in the elevator for 2 minutes,
right.
can't do
Oh,
that.
okay, of course. Then
So
I would
I
agree
think
with you.
there's
Like
a
I
place
said,
for that.
it satisfies that 15 to 25 minutes you're in the waiting room.
Right.
That's what it's there for.
Exactly.
And it's on your phone, and the battery lasts for a while.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, oh man, what's gonna happen? They should just pull the plug.
Apocalypse.
Do you think they should just pull the plug on it all and just like it's always like, why didn't Xbox ever, come out with something portable? Maybe they see the writing on the wall with that.
Well,
I don't know.
You're still seeing Windows 8
Right.
gaming phone
Oh,
stuff.
God.
So,
Well, personally, do you guys use portable gaming devices, or you just go out with your phones?
Yeah, I mean,
almost exclusively with my phone.
Yeah.
Only when I'm doing reviews. Do
If
I use
That
portable.
might
yeah.
be the ticket there.
that's the funniest thing. When do you use your portable gaming console? Well,
Yeah.
when I have to do a review of a portable
Yeah,
gaming
I mean,
console.
you guys work in this industry. You
That's-
have all of them,
I
but
don't
you never use them.
I don't bring mine around. Maybe
Yeah,
if I'm
good.
on a train for a long time. I've been flying a lot recently. I brought them on that.
Yeah.
That's really it. Oh
All
man,
right.
What's happening to the world we're living in?
R.I.P.
I don't know. It's time for calls from the public. Let's get to a few before we got to say goodbye.
Time to show the love.
Go, man.
866-404-CNET.
404.
Keeping in the vein of mobile gaming, I said yesterday I got a friend who cheats at Words with Friends. It's very obvious. Have you ever come across somebody that's like clearly
Yes.
cheating?
Yes.
I can't stand that. These people should be arrested and thrown in jail.
I wish there was a way to test.
Yeah.
Like you could see what their normal words are, and
Yeah.
then when they pull out something
There
ridiculous.
needs to be like a punk buster for Words with Friends. So let's hear about this.
Hey, 404, this is Suffolk from Steven. Just listening to your episode, and I hear Mark talking about why you cheat on Words with Friends, or whatever, Scramble with Friends, whatever it was. He is the exact reason we cheat. We do it just so people get butthurt. That's all. Keep being butthurt.
Oh, you know what? Blow it out your ass talking about being butthurt. I don't. Great, good for you. You cheat at Words with Friends. You do it so people get butthurt.
Yeah,
That's not. That's not
That's
a
why
reason.
everyone cheats at
Troll.
video games.
But that's not a
though.
reason. And and like what other games do you really cheat at? Is there a lot of
everyone that
cheating?
cheats at like Counter-Strike with like or Modern Warfare
that's-
with like
yeah.
hacks, that's the same reason.
I understand, but that's
to mess with people.
I remember in college that it was getting tough to cheat at Counter-Strike. Like it was, you know what I mean?
People find a way.
People find a way.
And that's for a game that's a little more involved, where it's kind of worth it to
Yeah.
cheat. You can have more fun. But why would you cheat with a disposable game?
Yeah,
where we're
exactly.
friends?
You're totally right, Justin. It's a game where it's just quick and easy, and hey, I'm passing some
Yeah.
time, and I'm gonna cheat at this. It's like cheating. It's like if you could somehow cheat at tic-tac-toe,
Yeah.
or like rock paper scissors. Get a life,
Yeah.
like
It's
you know.
like cheating a 5-year-old.
Yeah, it's like taking candy from a baby. Is what it really is.
I suspect a lot of my friends are cheating at draw something too, just
How
using
can-
a stylus. Have you
Like,
guys
they
have you
just
noticed that?
Paste the JPEG in there.
Yeah.
Well, I've already had someone write it out to me.
Oh,
No,
that's
don't. What are you
ridiculous.
doing? What
Takes all the
is
fun out of
this?
it. Why would you do that?
I want to get up to 48 turns. Shut
What?
up,
Yeah.
you loser. I'm sorry.
Thanks for calling our listeners losers.
I'm just saying, if you cheat, at,
horrible.
if you cheat at Words with Friends, to me, you're a loser.
in that aspect
What is
of life.
48 turns like an accomplishment?
I don't know.
If you're cheating.
If like you get to 50, does
Yeah.
your phone spit out $100? I don't
Yeah.
understand. Like, where's the incentive? I feel good about myself. No, you don't. Okay. I
Guy's becoming a curmudgeon already.
I'm just saying, who would disagree with that?
And get off my lawn.
I'm like Andy Rooney already. Right? Unbelievable. We got to talk about this before we got to say goodbye. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We've been on it all week. Can I get your impression real quick? What do you think about the whole
The Michael Bay thing?
The Ninja Turtle gate. Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's a train wreck. I
You
think
think
you
it's a
should-
travesty?
I
You
think
it's
you should
blasphemy?
stay as far away from that franchise as possible.
It's like unbelievable.
It's not unbelievable. I considering every movie really, but the first one. Well, I guess Secret of the Ooze was kind of entertaining.
Dude, the first two were great.
Okay, but everyone after that was terrible.
Right.
And I mean, so like, how long has it been since the franchise was anything worth noting?
That's
I don't
true.
know.
It's
You're
been
right.
Decades.
It's unbelievable. I read something so funny the other day. They're like, oh, they're going to take the mutant out of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So they're taking the M out of TMNT. Oh, Michael Bay, TNT, boom, dynamite. I get it. I think that's pretty funny.
What?
Wow.
You don't get it?
What? I don't get it. Actually,
I spoke too fast?
No, I
No,
heard what
because
you
he-
said,
because
but
it
what
was all
does
about
TNT have to do with?
Explosions.
Like, he liked-
he likes explosions.
That was a joke.
It looked better on Reddit or wherever
We'll
I
edit
saw
this
it.
out after.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Let's talk about Ninja Turtles. F you
Hi,
guys.
guys. I've been catching up on your show, and I just have a few things that I wanted to say. First, for the Ninja Turtles, the original comic was a parody of some of the big other comics of the day, like Daredevil. In fact, the original origin story is that the ooze is in a traffic accident, and it hits a young boy
What?
before it seeps into the sewers with the turtles, and that young boy is Daredevil. The foot is named after when Daredevil fights the hand, and there are many other references to that. So I think if they made a movie, they should actually include some of those references and really kind of make it more of a pop culture thing like the original comic was.
All right. So there's a lot of information to digest there.
First of all, how is the ooze in a traffic accident? Was it driving?
She
They were
doesn't
transporting the ooze on a motorcycle.
She does imply that the ooze is like self-aware there. All right, well, fine. So a truck carrying the ooze, Russ.
Okay.
How dare you take that literally? I didn't know that. Did you know any of that?
No.
I'd never heard of any of
Yeah, I
that.
didn't know that either.
Have you,
No,
Justin?
No, I certainly didn't know that it hit a blind kid named Matt Murdock, who was eventually going to be Daredevil. This must have been years before.
And
he
I
became
didn't.
that.
I thought Daredevil's rise to becoming Daredevil had nothing to do with.
I think it's like
Ooze.
no. You're right. It had nothing to do with it, but I think it's like this was like a retelling.
An alternate history sort of thing.
Right.
That's
so
cool.
Daredevil was unaffected, I guess, by the ooze. Is what they're saying? It like just bounced off of him and rolled down in the sewers, and then
Then
that
it cracked.
affected
But
the
isn't
Turtles?
Daredevil's his power is just the heightened sense of like awareness?
Yeah, I didn't even
and,
think
like,
he
agility.
had any magic powers. It was just because he was blind.
He just had a
he,
super
like-
sensitive sense
that
of
right?
smell.
I don't know.
and-
Yeah, I mean, maybe in this alternate universe, a little bit of the ooze leaked into his eyeballs, and that created heightened senses for
It
the
went
rest of
right
it.
into his eye, in the face, like that. That would be really funny.
Yeah.
Would
Would
not,
they actually do that though?
But that's the thing. If,
Probably
imagine
not.
they retold the story and incorporated Daredevil.
It seems
I've
like
never,
a lot to take in.
It is a lot to take in, but I think there's something sort of intriguing about incorporating Daredevil into the TMNT etymology. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I would watch that more than I'm gonna not watch this Michael Bay version.
Right. Also, why was there a rat hanging out with turtles in the beginning?
Well, okay, we went over this.
Oh,
There's
you did?
two
Sorry.
versions. There's a comic version that
Okay.
says that. I'm sorry, now I forget.
It said that Splinter came over as a rat with his ninja master, and then the cage broke.
and then was exposed to the ooze.
and then he was
after-
exposed. They were
Right.
both exposed to the ooze at the same
I
time.
think what it is the first movie is actually quite accurate to what
Okay.
the original comic was. It was the cartoon that had some
Right.
freedom with it, and the cartoon I can confirm for sure because I remember it was like a person that got turned into a rat.
Oh, really?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was
yeah.
a sensei
Yeah.
that got turned around.
Yeah, I
and then
remember
he
the
trained
movie.
turtles.
So, and the movies is super dark too, and that's what this, we had a bunch of callers this week saying the real Ninja Turtles is like gothy. It's
Yeah.
like very
Well, there's
dark.
that scene where
kill
like
people.
Raphael's like in the tub.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
depressed and
exactly.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dude, that movie gets dark, man. That movie hits a dark place. It does when you watch
I remember
it.
that. Yeah.
It's kind of sad. And they're all
Yeah.
like crying. There's a lot of crying.
There's like
in it,
REM
too.
playing in the background. It was really sad.
Everybody hurts.
Yeah.
They were playing songs that weren't written yet. It was amazing though.
I
Like,
gotta rewatch that tub scene. It
it's
was
pretty
pathetic.
deep. It's like
And then like April's like drawing him in the
Yeah,
tub.
naked.
Yeah.
Really weird.
whenever there's a scene where someone's drawing someone else, it's like heightened emotions. You know what I mean? Like super deep Ninja Turtle stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they're mutants, but they've got feelings. They're
Sure.
real people. I'm
Emo
telling you, man.
turtles.
Emo turtles. I'm telling you, man. Russ Frushtick, dude. Always a pleasure, man.
Guys.
Thanks so much
pleasure.
for being here. Tell us where the kids can find you.
Sure. Vox Games, you can go to theverge.com/Vox Games, which is a temporary home for us.
Yeah.
And Vox Games on Twitter, and I'm at Russ Frushtick on Twitter.
Follow Russ on Twitter because he's a great guy.
I try.
He says funny stuff,
Yes.
and that's all I'm gonna lie
Happy
about
birthday,
today.
Jeffy.
Well, thank you, bud.
tomorrow, but happy
Appreciate it.
birthday.
Thank you. That means
we'll
a
see
lot.
you at
And
your
thank-
surprise party tonight.
Yes, and thank you for the cupcake. It's freaking
Wait,
delicious.
I gave a
Yeah, I think you
404
might have
URL.
given
Sorry,
it
it's
wrong.
theverge.com/gaming. Did I say that?
Slash gaming. Okay,
Yeah.
so not Vox Games.
Yeah,
gaming. There you go.
verge.com/gaming.
It said 404. You see that?
Yeah.
I love it. It's all
Plug.
cyclical here. We'll get out of here. 866-404-CNET is the number to call. Or you can email us, the404@cnet.com. Check out the blog, the404.cnet.com.
Cool.
Next week, Wednesday, Tony Hawk comes back to the 404. So that's going to be a lot of fun. You could tell by the expression on Russ's face. Have a great weekend, guys. We'll see you on Monday. I'm Jeff Bacalar.
And I'm Justin Yu.
Big thanks again to Russ Frushtick, our good friend and pal. We always love having you. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend.